Welcome to Misano for the second round of the Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe. It is very, very hot indeed. And ahead of us, we have two 20-minute qualifying sessions with a 10-minute gap in between. I'm Bruce Jones, joined in the commentary box by John Watson. It couldn't be more different to the opening round at Brands Hatch, John.
Delightful, one would say, apart from coming to the wonderful part of the Italian Riviera. Now, the only thing I've seen missing, apart from the temperatures, 48 on the track, 31 or 32 ambient. The Italian Riviera, the only thing missing are those wonderful Anthony Gormley statues. Could you imagine the entire beach here, Cattolica, where we're staying, and a range of those wonderful statues by Anthony Gormley. But anyway,
John, go down to the beach tonight. I think they're being installed all the way from Liverpool. But right now, we're very much in Italian Italy, on the Adriatic coast. It has been super hot all across southern Europe. And for the drivers in question, we'll have the two qualifying sessions. New colour this weekend, John. The 88 is always running blue with the white accents on it, but their form hasn't been good this year. Their luck hasn't been good, so this has been changed to red to bring the good luck. Or so they hope.
So there's a change your colour, hair colour, change your luck. If you believe in it, go for it. It ain't going to make any difference as far as I'm concerned, other than, of course, the 88 familiar in blue all year now in that very striking red with a silver flash.
Session very nearly underway. Let's take a look at the championship position. 29.5 points for Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel. First and second place at Brands Hatch. In fact, in the other way round, second and then first. Really strong form for the Black Falcon Mercedes team. Second crew, Nico Bastian and Thomas Neubauer, racing for ACA ASP. They're the leaders for that team. And as we mentioned, not Raffaele Marciello and Vincent Abril. As you can see, they are down around 8th place in the championship. So plenty to fight for. But this circuit, the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli, to give it its full name, 16 turns crammed into 4.226 kilometres. It's really, really tight, John.
I think it's a great racetrack, but we've got 28 cars. These are physically large GT3 cars, so space is at a premium. The parts of the racetrack where you can hope to see some overtaking well into turn one, but you've got to be 100% alongside. The other, of course, is coming through the exit of 7 through the curve into turn 8, but again, easily defended. And then it's the far end of the circuit. This is the coming through, that's turn 8, we've just gone through 9, 10, all the way back down 11, 12, 13, 14. Once you get to the bottom, effectively the beginning of sector 3, if you haven't got it done, you're not going to really get it done. But all I remember is watching Raffaele Marciello last year in his Mercedes, deciding to go a bit rallycross, took the front suspension virtually off the car and lost the race as a consequence.
So, but looking at the start-finish straight there, it's a very short run. Doesn't matter so much when you're in qualifying trim, but when you get to the start of the race and that first corner comes up at you super fast. But right now, we're qualifying, we're not racing. FFF racing team, Chinese racing team, making a big splash, running the Lamborghini outfits in Europe this year. And it's a big step up for them, but they seem to be doing a good job so far.
Yes, in particular this 563, the Andrea Caldarelli and Marco Mappelli, that's the pro car. And that's been very impressive. The team have done a really good job. They've come in as a big operation, look at the pits and see the infrastructure that's going in behind this operation. And I say Andrea Caldarelli, Marco Mappelli have got to be potentially front row of the grid, possibly pole sitters here after we get through the Q1 session. Now, one of the elements that everybody is conscious of, apart from the hot weather, this plume that's been all over southern Europe, Italy is sort of just on the edge of that plume, but very high track temperatures. The ambient temperature is still hot, but it's that track temperature, and teams are thinking about how are we going to make our tires live. Not probably in the qualifying session we're going to see now, but later on this evening when it will be cooler, but nevertheless everyone knows they've got to look after the rear tire in particular. And if you look at the Audi car, very quick here indeed. In fact, the quickest car over the weekend so far has been the number 2 car, Dries van Thor, who did a 134.020, which is actually below, not quite matching the lap record, but it's being able to manage your tire, manage your car setup. Here they will be going for single lap speed. They may have to make small adjustments when it comes to the race. 2
new cars this weekend. Just take a look at the number 7 Audi Sport Italia. Andrea Fontana will do the first session. Ultra experienced Audi racer Pierre Caffa will do the second. Great to see. And looks like we're in Knightsbridge rather than Misano. The all-gold livery of Boots and Ginian Racing. That's Claude-Yves Gosselin and Pierre Filioni, raced together for years. Almost always in Lamborghinis, but that really is catching the glint of the sun. And one other car that's new this weekend is Get Speed Performance, racing in the AM class. Mercedes. They do most of their racing on the Nordschleife at the Nürburgring. They do the 24 hours. And they've brought Russian racer Denis Remyako, who's doing the first session, and German racer Adam Osieka. So they're in the AM class. So the field, that brings it up to 28 cars.
We get maximum points for getting their names right without a hesitation, stop, or anything else. But the session underway, just under 19 minutes remaining. And we're looking at the Lamborghini that we just saw going out on track. Very striking in its gold wrap. As we look at the 444, Florian Schultz and Wolfgang Triller.
Well, in fact,
so that's an AM car.
That's an AM car. I'm just looking at it coming out of turn 8, which is that left-hand hairpin. The tail really kicking around. So these drivers, they're really having to guess how they're going to get the grip for these tyres. And anybody who's swinging the tail around will not be finding what they're looking for.
Well, these cars have not been out on racetrack since about 5 o'clock Friday evening, so it's what, the best part of 21 hours. The track has changed. There's been other activity on the racetrack, a lot of qualifying for the other support events. Just the nature of racetracks, they are actually a living thing. So it will change as we go through with 18 minutes of the session remaining. It'll be different at the end as to where we are right now.
So here is the image of Andrea Fontana, young Italian racer. Great to have him on board. A lot of his racing has been in the Italian GT series, and good to have him coming to join us. But in fact, last year he was racing in Italian. He started in Italian F4, but he's, it's good to have more people dipping their toes into the Blancpain pond.
More young drivers coming out of single-seater racing, reaching a point where they can't make any further progression, finding a position, a seat in the most prestigious GT championship in the world, and trying to establish themselves in a series where they can have a long and very beneficial, fruitful career.
And let's face it, this is Blancpain GT World Challenge Europe. There's a Blancpain GT World Challenge America, and also Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia. So the world is their oyster. And if you prove yourself a young hot shoe, one of the Mercedes running very wide out in the background of the shot there, you need to keep your passport on the front shelf of your car.
I think that might have been the Mercedes coming out of the pit lane. One of the issues that we have here at Misano is the pit lane exit is right on the exit of turn 3. And there's a blend line. In fact, Johnny Kane, I think it was some years ago, was exiting the pit during a test session, and he got side slammed by a car on racetrack. He was blindsided. He couldn't see the car coming as he was joining the track. So drivers, when they make their driver change and tyre stop, have to be conscious that when they go back on track, there isn't a car in that blind spot. How they will know it's there or not if they can't see it, well, maybe the team can give them a little bit of assistance.
A periscope to see over the pit exit wall. So waiting for the first flying laps to be achieved. And Andrea Fontana, as you can see, fastest of all through the first of the 3 sectors. Very good run in the second one, but we know full well, John, if you nail your colours to one car in the first few minutes of qualifying and say it's top within a few moments, it will no longer be so. But Andrea Fontana really pushing a little bit of a wobble as he came back over the curbs onto the circuit there. And already we have to repeat it at every single round of almost any racing championship now. Very, very twitchy moment there is if you get all 4 wheels beyond the white line. Here's the 16th and final corner. Oh, I think by the skin of its teeth, Andrea Fontana stayed the right side. But go beyond the time, they are being taken away. Rinat Salikov, fastest of all in the Ferrari at the moment from Rinaldi Racing. But of course, that's been bettered by the driver we're looking at.
Yeah, a 1:36.0. Now that compares with what we saw yesterday evening, a 1:34.0 for Dries Van Thor. So 2 seconds between current fastest car and the best that we saw Friday evening. Times will improve. Andrea Caldarelli, somebody who unquestionably, one might call this one of his 2 home races. Of course, Monza, the 3-hour race there at the start of the Enduro series. But very, very, very aggressive coming through turn 15, lining it up. Make sure he doesn't overrun on the exit. He's just about getting away with that, and the sister car following directly behind. So track limit abuse is observed. I think the issue on the final turn is there is no actual tangible benefit. There's the car now we want to keep an eye on, the 88 Mercedes in its resplendent new red and silver flash. And that's without that possibly could be a disallowed time.
Well,
because Raffaele Marcello had more than 4 wheels, what I would consider off the racetrack.
Well, that was good, only for 8th place. The lead is being in qualifying is Tom Gamble, the young British racer, number 17, Grasser Racing Team. Sorry, he's not number 17, I beg your pardon. But leading the way, top of the charts, 1 minute 35.0 seconds. So for Tom Gamble, Belgian Audi Club Team WRC.
Just look again at the exit. Now, for me, this is beyond what would be the lap. Okay, whatever their 8th position, that lap potentially could be disallowed. At the minute, we are saying lap 2:55. is cancelled. So already the attempt to racing Stein Shorthorse and Nick Foster, that lap time has been cancelled. So they're on it right away. The stewards are watching every move, every car on every lap and every corner to make sure they're not exceeding track limits. And here at Misano, it sort of goes with the territory. You exceed the track limits to try and find a time.
Well, let's take a look. Coming out of turn 10, and the right-hand hairpin onto the back straight, the kickback straight with Christian Engelhardt. This is the GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini down towards the kink at turn 11. It's very fast indeed. Nico Bastian is now top of the time charts, but Christian Engelhardt, you can see he's 17th. There's a 17th on the left of his graphic. Going down, you have to really throw on the anchors for turns 13 and then the tighter turn 14. Then you go past the grandstands to driver's left, a kink at turn 15, and up to the final corner, the one where we've seen so many cars running wide. Coming up towards 16. Just wait, that was turn 15. Here is 16. Let's see how the German racer does it. Looks actually fairly controlled on the way in.
I mean, again, it's difficult to tell from the on-board shot as opposed to the camera looking to the car exiting the corner. Everybody will run wide in the exit of 16. That's just part of the nature of the corner. But they've got this, almost you might call sausage curving around the exits. And if you hit those with your car, it does put a big shock load into the suspension. Certainly it puts it through the wheel and tyre. And if you abuse it too much, apart from the penalty you might incur or losing that particular lap time.
Acker ASP top of the charts. Well, they were for a second. Nico Bastian was up the top. He's now third. Lucas Stoltz ahead of him. But on the top of the pile, Andrea Caldarelli. We saw him in the pit lane before the start of the race. He's put FFF Racing Team, one of their 3 Lamborghinis, top of the charts. 1 minute 34.7 seconds. So still 7/10 down the time Dries Van Toor did last night.
Yes, and Lucas Stoltz, you say, second quickest, 27 hundredths of a second, or 27 hundredths of a second behind. The balance between the Audi and the Mercedes, which are the predominant brands here this weekend, is that the consensus thinks that over the longer run that the Mercedes may be the more have more continuity. Put it than somebody in the gravel. That's one of the FFF Lamborghinis. Can't quite tell which one it is.
We think it could be 555, which should be Taylor Proto, American-based young Brit. Just also want to point out Ricky Collard going very well. The Aston Martin up into 5th place overall. Yes. In ahead of him is Tom Gamble. So driver absolutely beached. Taylor, you're afternoon.
Yeah, and there's a red flag. So the car is beached, the red flag. The clock will continue to count down.
Let's see his crime. His crime was visiting a neighbouring country. He was so far off the circuit.
He was on his way to the beach.
He certainly was.
He found the beach.
He certainly did. 10th fastest at the time. So for Taylor, his first season racing in Europe, a good showing followed by a little bit too much of enthusiasm. But what do you do in the pits? Stay cool? No, you warm up.
Well, that's not a very good start.
Not all drivers have ball skills. Is this Thomas Neubauer? I think yes, so it is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe taking the headphones off or the sound deafeners, take the baseball hat off, jiggy, jiggy, jig.
Excuse me, I just want a spanner. More a mechanic to ruin the whole show. But again, it just shows...
Ricky Collard's gone quickest.
Drawing the red flag. That's well, maybe it was as the red flag was coming out, but listed as fastest by 1/1000th of a second. But let's see. The clock is stopped.
Had to say, I love it. I mean, what a great name, Ricky Collard. Andrea Caldarelli held that momentarily until then the Aston Martin SRO Motorsport. They're confident because it's a car that's evolving. The big change, of course, for the Aston Martin, it's now got the Mercedes-Benz AMG twin-turbo 4-litre power unit under the hood. Different power unit that's in the Mercedes-Benz GT or the Mercedes GT3, which is a naturally aspirated motor, as Mirko Bortolotti has a little look down to see whereabouts is Christian Engelhardt.
He's ninth. He's ninth fastest, but again, sitting with Gottfried Grasser, looking at the screens, have only had effectively about 2 or 3 flying laps for most of the drivers.
You kind of get the feeling, well, let's look again. This is coming through turn 3, gets way, way, way off track, and of course the outside of the circuit is dusty, dirty, and then just the momentum, the pendulum effect takes over, and the car just is ending up buried in the gravel. And he tried to get it out. You could see the rear wheel spinning, but
I think that was
no effect.
I think that was out of turn 12, actually, John.
Really?
Going down the back straight, the tighter turn 13.
Okay, maybe.
I was just looking at the grandstands in the background, and they start to
stand up
around 12. So, good. 87, haven't had, this was the car we saw coming out of the pits. That's Mauro Ricci and Jim Pla running. Young Jim racing with older Mauro, but really loves his racing. Mauro Ricci, 87 is the car from Acker ASP. Such a busy team, and you know the good showing, victory in the opening race at Brands Hatch for Nico Bastian and Thomas Neubauer. We've just seen Thomas very keen in the pits. But
remember, that's a Silver Cup car.
Yeah.
I know that Nico Bastian, to me, is the same level of any of the pro drivers here. And Thomas Neubar did an outstanding job. I mean, he was over the moon when he stepped out of the car. It was as if it had all his birthdays, and he only had about 20 of them, had come in one day.
No, it was under pressure, and he did exactly what he needed to do, and so easy to crack at somewhere like Brands Hatch, but kept it on the island. At one moment, he was almost off at Stirling's, but just held it together under pressure from behind.
Haven't we all been off at Stirling's?
I'll take your word for that, John.
Yeah.
I know you have.
So I've got an hour to tell you, because that's how long I was trapped in the car. So the Aston being put back into the garage.
And not surprisingly, we were surprised by the Aston Martin going to the top, and the red flag had been flown. And so the time taken away from Ricky Collar drops back down, but only as far as 5th, where he was. He's 2/10, a quarter of a second down on the best pace set by Andrea Caldarelli. But it's great to have the Aston Martins in the mix, and obviously they're racing in many championships around the world, in
Absolutely.
the DTM, the World Endurance Championship, Airtal, so always a popular mark to have on.
Well, I mean, certainly
out on the circuit.
With the inclusion of our motorsport, they've joined last year. They've come in with a great deal of professionalism. Every level of the team is just absolutely stunning, and they're beginning to get. They had the reward, in fact, last year at Silverstone, but in the second year, it's a bit like a hit record. It's your second record. That's always the more difficult. Your second year in a very competitive championship will always be a slightly different year to that was your debut year. So Lamborghini coming back, trying to shake all the gravel that may have gathered in the rear of the car. And you're right, Bruce, that was down at turn 14, I think, and there we are. Christopher Hasse having a laugh, Marcus Winkelhock having a laugh. Stefan Ortelli back again. Good to see Stefan. And he was involved in an incident yesterday with Vincent Abril, and it was adjudged to be the responsibility of Vincent Abril. So he got another point in his sort of tally of naughty boy points.
He certainly did.
He only needs one more, and he'll have to take a 3 or a 5 grid penalty drop at Zandvoort.
And go and see the headmaster after school.
Yeah, wacko.
Very good. Just a thing that made me laugh when you told me it was Ortelli that Abril clashed with. At Le Mans, when Vincent Abril made his debut there, who was the brains trust of the team? Just advised it was Stefan Ortelli. So the all Monegasque lineup with the Pret father and son combination, Vincent Abril and Monegasque Stefan Ortelli in the pit. So we're green again. HB Racing going out onto the track. Very keen to get out. Florian Scholz, he'll have the track to himself, but of course as he comes around to start a flying lap, he'll have the world and its dog coming out in front of him. But anyhow, HB Racing, good to have them out here running in the AM class.
And he needs to be aware that when the Lamborghini came back onto the racetrack down at 13, 14, wherever he went off, that there may well be the residue of some gravel. So he doesn't want to come barreling down, even though it'll only be an outlap, needs to be aware.
Car 65, one of many from the Attempto Racing stable. Clement Schmidt, sorry, that's the system. 55, which is Stein Schotthorst and Nick Foster. Haven't had the best of seasons yet, been flashes of pace, but yesterday they had a problem as well. And didn't.
Well, again, at Brands Hatch, we saw that incident that occurred in paddock. First lap, contact. Andrea, was it the 555? That was Andrea Caldarelli in the Lamborghini that was adjudged to have been the guilty party. And it was a traffic jam, and nobody had anywhere to go. And obviously, the contact that occurred resulted in a penalty for Caldarelli, which he was not over the moon about, but, you know, move on. There's another day, another race to come.
Indeed. Look at the heat haze. You look at the circuit here at Misano. The clock has ticked down to the halfway point in the session. 10 minutes of the 20 minutes have gone. Andrea Caldarelli leading the way from Lucas Stoltz. So it's Lamborghini from Mercedes. Third place to Mercedes in the form of Nico Bastian. Top Gamble, top Audi driver in 4th. And Ricky Collard leading the Aston Martin charge in 5th overall. Driver in 6th, young Charles Weerts. Obviously deeply ingrained with Team WRT because his father Yves, one of the founders of the team, but a really, really impressive young driver.
I was talking to Yves earlier on before the session got underway, along with Vincent Voss. We're having a laugh about the good old days and giving an opinion, as I am wont to do, about anything and everything under the sun.
So without discussing the free market economy, John, we'll carry on with the qualifying session.
No, we didn't go there.
No, I'm sure you were heading there. But the top half of the field, almost all in the pits. It's the lower half of the 28-car field that tends to be out on the track at the moment. So there is plenty of space for those that went out early. Let's see if they can make the most of it.
Andrea Caldarelli appears to have chosen to go back out on track, having hold gotten a hold on that. No, he's still showing in the pit. There's a green arrow on the one hand, looking like he's gone out.
I tell you
But he's still in the pit.
I tell you why that is, because he was promoted back to the top of the charts when Ricky Collard had his time taken away.
Okay.
So as we can see, looking at one of the Acura ASP Mercedes, that's number 90, weaving around. Timo Boguslawski and Fabian Schiller are the pairing in that.
Strong pairing again.
Yeah, indeed, young Russian definitely fighting his fall. But 444, the HB Racing Ferrari, was the first one back out onto the track, running out over the curbs. He's coming up onto the tail of the Acura ASP car. Difference is he's on a flying lap. The Acura car is on more of an outlap.
And you could see the rear of the Ferrari on throttle. The back was sliding out as he came out of turn 14 and now into the final turn. Turn 16 needs to be careful not to run too wide. That's acceptable. Nobody will raise any eyebrows at that exit. So here we go.
So he stays at no improvement in time, stays in 24th position, but Timo Boguslawski, the young Russian who's running ahead of him in the pale blue and white Mercedes, is going to pick up the pace. He's good for 7th on in the time charts at the moment, so he shouldn't be troubling the Ferrari. He should be stretching away from it, looking to see who is starting to improve on their times. As I said, it was mainly the bottom half of the field that was out on the track. Now pretty much everyone, bar Andrea Cordarelli and Luca Stolz, the top 2 drivers on the timesheet, out on the track. It's suddenly getting busier again.
And Mercedes runs way, way wide in turn 8. So that was not the Nico Bastian car, that was the sister one. So that's 89. That is Nico Bastian we're watching now, currently in 3rd position, capable of putting that car on pole, as we've seen him do on occasion. So he's preparing the Lamborghini down the road already, about 200 yards or meters down the road. He's flashing his lights to make sure that the Lamborghini doesn't impede the pace of the 89 Mercedes.
Who's fastest around the middle part of the circuit? Stephen Palette. He's only in 18th place, but he's now heading towards the front field. Nico Bastian, though, super lively.
Will be coming through turn 14, well off the track. I mean, the car in a full-blooded 4-wheel drift. I mean, you would have, if you had a drifting competition, that would have certainly got my vote.
It's a real scramble, 6.5 minutes remaining in the session, and we're getting all sorts of changes. Stephen Palette from nowhere up to 6th place in the number 26 Audi, so suddenly a bit of a smile on the face.
Nico Bastian goes quickest.
Well, he deserves it for artistic style. 1 minute 34.779, so he's 4,000ths of a second faster than Andrea Cordarelli. But that's what counts. And Vincent Abril, he likes red, he liked blue, went off it, but now this new red livery for the Acura ASP 88 car. Anything you can do, I can do even more flamboyantly, says Vincent Abril.
Forget the race, let's have a drift competition. We've seen more cars here in this, 15 minutes of this session going wide, coming into 14 than I've ever seen in all my time coming here to Misano.
I think the high temperatures have a massive role to play in this. Fastest fall in the first sector and the second, but it won't be in the third quite clearly. Will he stay in 14th place? No, I think he's about to he's got top. There's a delay on our timing screen. He's clear by 0.2 of a second. But let's take a look at this slide again, John.
Take a look at this slide, but keep an eye on Christian Engelhardt. He's got fastest overall in Sector 1, currently in 12th place. Wow, he gets it all out of shape. Normally, you never, ever see a Mercedes getting out of shape like that. So track conditions down at the bottom end of the racetrack clearly are catching out a number of drivers. Here's the car, 63, Christian Engelhardt, fastest in first sector by almost 0.4 of a second. Personal best in the middle sector. And actually it's the Steinhardt brothers and Niels who's gone fastest in the middle sector. But this is a challenge to the current fastest time by who? Ricky Collard.
Oh yeah, Ricky's jumped back to the top. He likes it at the top of the table, keeps going up there, hasn't had this one removed. He's fastest by 0.1 of a second. Christian Engelhardt is now the driver in behind, 0.071 of a second. We've got 5 minutes remaining. It's super tight at the top. Top second covers the top 18 cars at the moment.
And Andrea Caldarelli is back on it again, currently in 6th place, fastest overall in Sector 1. Waiting to see what the Italian will do. The 5.63 there, it is at the middle sector. Well, he's down on time, but he was in traffic, so that'll maybe account for a lot of loss of time. Lamborghini looks good there, looks more stable, not running as wide in the middle of the exit of the corner as others. So what has Caldarelli got left in the tank? Is it empty, or has he still got that last little drop of grip? Back of the car dances around one way or the other, has to get it lined up, make sure the nose gets into the good exit for Caldarelli. But has he got enough left to pass Collard and take that provisional pole?
I think he surely will, but Collard's on an even faster lap. Here's Collard, Caldarelli to top, 1 minute 34.391, 0.06 of a second faster. But here comes Ricky Collard. He's going to improve his lap time, but is he going to go back to the top? Will the Aston Martin topple the Lamborghini? Let's wait and see.
Yes!
There's the one on the screen. Timing screen catches up. He's clear by 44 thousandths of a second. This is a great seesaw. The Santalok Audis are all over the place, but they keep working their way from the back towards the front. But it's changing so quickly at the top of the table. And now Steve Paulette, fastest of anyone in the middle sector. They have timed this really well.
I mean, Steve Paulette has been impressive all year. So could this see the Audi get up onto that front? Charles Fayette's and the number 2 Audi has done it. So WRT back in control. But where is the 26? What happened to that lap?
He only went up to 9th. He gained 3 positions. Not so long ago, he went from last up to 6th. So it's all changing. Let's run through the class as well. Nico Bastian is the top runner, 7th overall in the Silver Cup class. Leading the way in Pro-Am, Neil Stephen Art down in 14th. Leading the way in Am, let's look down. It is, we've got a driver very far off, Tom Gamble. Running out of turn 16, I think he'll rejoin the track halfway down the start, finish straight through the gravel trap, across the grass, back onto the circuit.
It's all happening here in Misano. Drivers on the track, off the track. Time has been disallowed. Pushing, we've got, what, 3 minutes now of this session to go. Simon Gachet in the Audi. Oh, cameraman must have fallen asleep there.
It's hot down in the pits. It's even hotter out on the circuit, John. 2 minutes and 45 seconds remaining.
Oh, he's lost it.
Well,
again down at the bottom of the circuit. And again, this will maybe another red flag with 2.5 minutes remaining. Can Simon Gachet, he's got it running. He's enough momentum to get the car. He's actually driving against the flow of traffic. But will he get out of the gravel trap and be able to get back onto track and not deposit? He has deposited half the gravel track on the exit. Look at the gravel coming out of the back of that. Well, this is all over for everybody now who's on track trying to get that provisional time.
Charles Wirtz surely is guaranteed pole position now. So much gravel. Take a look at this slide, John. At what point did it go wrong? The start of the lap? No. It was going through the kink at turn 13.
I don't know why. I've never seen that part of the racetrack catch out so many drivers. We've had what, 4 off or 4 almost off. I mean, some of the most unexpected getting well and truly sideways. So strange. I don't know why. I can't explain it. But look at the gravel. Well, we're looking at the gravel. Christian Engelhardt currently fourth. So it's Audi, Aston Martin, then a lockout second row against for Lamborghinis, but from rival teams.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've all gone about it in a different way. So Mirko Bortolotti looking to see what his teammate Christian Engelhardt can do. A lot of drivers were rather scuppered by the gravel down at turn 14 as Simon Gachet came on. Simon was 8th at the time. He's probably safe in 8th now because it's going to be so hard to improve. And quite a few of the runners are now parking it up and arriving in the pit lane to park up.
Yeah, Engelhardt looked to me there, he maybe just backed out of it a little bit. Yes, he has backed out of it. We've got 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining. And I think the message has maybe come through from the team. They would have seen the first sector time, and they would have been able to give Engelhardt, whether it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Gottfried Grasser, the principal team boss of Grasser Racing. Engelhardt still pushing, coming down into these final turns at the end of that. So it's a dog leg straight rather than a straight.
Sector 2, who's fastest? The driver on the top of the pile, Charles Wirtz. This is no fluke. He's fastest of anyone in the second sector. His first sector time not brilliant. Engelhardt not improving though.
Nobody needs to be careful. There's a car, one of the Audis, one of the which one is it? Just looking at the attempt to Engelhardt goes into the pits. So the Audi that was following was just about catching the back of the Lamborghini as we go on board with Caldarelli.
Well, it's a shame we went with the number 2 Audi because that's the pace setter Charles Wirtz. If we'd had it on board, you'd have had a massive moment out of turn 16, through the gravel, across the grass, kept it in a straight line. Did not improve his lap time, but that one, even with the running through the gravel trap, was still only half a second off his pole time. So very impressive young Belgian. Now, riding with Andrea Caldarelli. Look, the clock has stopped. It's up to the end of the 20 minutes. The checkered flag is now showing. Is anybody going to come through and relieve Charles Wirtz pole position?
It's gone. He's got the Mercedes in the way. So not very much he was able to do about that. So that was the, which was that? Was the...
Andrea Caldarelli, yeah. Good for third.
Yeah. So he's actually come into the pit lane. He's not bothered. He got coming into turn 14, compromise. I was trying to work out which word it was. He got compromise coming in, but again, arguably, maybe there wasn't a huge amount of time left in the racetrack, or certainly left in the tires. As we look into the SRO Motorsport, Ricky Collard really, in many ways, was the star of this qualifying session, as was the Aston Martin. Just got eclipsed in the end by an outstanding lap by Charles Fayette and the number 2 Audi.
And draw breath after that. That was an incredibly hectic first 20 seconds. plenty of drama out on the circuit and near the circuit and beyond the circuit. Here are some of the cars even on their in-lap, just trying to see how deep they can go into turn 13.
It's as if the whole approach into 13-14 has changed because drivers are allowing their car to run way. I mean, effectively, they're going off track at that part of the circuit, but they're making it a more progressive arc than just simply trying to make it into 3 corners. Looks very spectacular. I mean, more spectacular than I can recall at any other point visiting here. So Ricky's done a good job for the SRO Motorsport team.
Yeah, passing his knowledge on to Marvin Kirchhoff, and there's young Ricky.
Yeah. It's quite a difference in size between Ricky and Marvin, so seat infills for both drivers if they don't have an adjustable seat. And teams are going away from the concept of adjustable seats because it's an area, if there's an accident, where you could have a compromise. As Andrea Caldarelli pulls off his helmet balaclava, ends up on the second row of the grid alongside Christian Engelhardt. So a bit of understeer here and whatever else. Good effort by Caldarelli indeed, and by the Orange One FFF racing team. A bit of a slap round. Marco Mappelli gives him a slap round the chops.
No, you didn't look down. He just received one from Andrea. It's a form of encouragement down at FFF Racing Team. But for so many drivers, turn 13 through to 14 is where their heart was in their mouth, because clearly the front end grip just isn't there for an awful lot of them, and they're having to just find any grip they can get.
The front, the back, there's not a lot of grip certainly in that part of the racetrack.
So let's take a look at the times. Charles Weert's top, and he tried to topple his own best time. Had a little off-track moment at the final corner, but for the young Belgian, first pole. Ricky Collard, really strong run for Aston Martin, taking second place. Look how close those times are. And Andrea Caldarelli waving the flag for Lamborghini. Coulda, shoulda, maybe. But anyhow, super, super close. Then the second of the Lamborghinis, Christian Engelhardt. Vance on a Brill, good job early on. One of the drivers who parked up quite early in that session after we had the slight hiatus while Taylor Proto's car was recovered from the gravel. But a real mix of cars, which is exactly how we like it, with the balance of performance.
I think the thing that everybody in the pit lane will be maybe concerned about is that over the duration of a 1 hour race this evening and another 1 hour race on Sunday afternoon, is that the front 2 rows, there isn't a Mercedes in the front 2 rows. Then you've got 3 Mercedes behind the front 2 rows. But if you've got, it's like owning property, it's all about position, position, position. If you've got the front 2 rows blocked out, it's going to make it a lot more difficult for those behind to get through, because while there are overtaking opportunities, they are few and far between with such a tightly compacted grid.
Looking out just over the beautiful scenery and the hills behind, there is a bit of a breeze, which is welcome. The track's being cleared up. And we're going down to the pits for an interview.
Charles, that was an absolute unbelievable lap. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the car was just great. Yeah, we tested a lot of things on Friday, on Tuesday, and it looks like it paid off at the end. So yeah, really happy about my lap, and especially about all the work that my team did. So yeah, it's nice.
Now you've done some really quick laps on the track. What advice would you give to Dries getting in the car now?
Yeah, just do what he can do. Like he used to do it. Like he's just great in qualifying, so he knows better what to do than me. So
good luck, thank you.
Well, I mean, just to follow on Dakota Jane's interview there, in fact, during that little period of conversation with Charles's dad and Vincent Voss, they wouldn't say what they've done. They have found a lot of little detail things, a little bit on the aero side, probably a little bit on the mechanical side, bearing in mind the temperatures that we're going to have here over the weekend. So it's a work in progress, and the competition this year has been so fierce that WRT have not enjoyed theirs, dad and son. So a pretty happy day for the Weert family. So a lot of detail work and tuning. The other big difference, Bruce, this year is there isn't the amount of free testing that teams used to enjoy. I mean, teams will be coming down here and spending maybe 3 or 4 days somewhere prior to the event and pounding around and around. They're not permitted to do that. There are designated testing days at events. So it's a different emphasis, and it sometimes is reflecting in teams' performances.
I certainly think so. And the thing that really strikes me at the moment is just the fact that a few years ago, Dries Van Tor was a young gun. He's 3 years older than his teammate. He's at the lofty age of 21 now, Dries, and so 18. How cool, calm, and collected is Charles Weert?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dries has started to shave. I think he's sort of, he's growing up.
So it happens. The Black Falcon Mercedes number 4, so strong, don't forget. Second place and victory in the opening round at Brands Hatch, and now it's the turn of Maro Engel, a German racer, to see if he can achieve a front row position. As you pointed out, John, in qualifying for race 1. There will be no Mercedes until you get to row 3. Let's see.
Yes, and there is one of the newcomers this weekend.
That's the Get Speed Performance Mercedes, silver with purple colouring, and the 333 Ferrari, Rinaldi Racing's number for so long. David Pirelli will take that over for session number 2. Very hot in the pit lane. Only a 10-minute break. There is a slight breeze. Looking to the timing screen now, I think we're going to start bang on time because the gravel's been cleared up. I saw them working very hard on that during the break.
It's a bit like going in an Audi showroom there. You can have any colour. There's a red one, there's a green one, there's a yellow one. Which colour suits you, sir?
Well, they don't help us so much when we go down to FFF Racing. You can see the splitter is a different colour, but certainly in the night race, black car with the orange and green flashes will be hard to pick out.
Just track temperature has fallen away marginally by about a degree.
So what do we have ahead of us? We have 20 minutes of qualifying. Slight breeze, but it's still very hot. Still clearing up the gravel that was deposited when Simon Gachet came back on after his, I think it was a triple rotation down at turn 14. Off the circuit at turn 13, a fast right-hand kink. Now it's the turn of Andrea Bertolini to see what he can do in this session. So 28 drivers went out, 28 drivers came back. We've got the change of personnel. Qualifying 2, very nearly underway.
Andrea Bertolini taking over from Louis Michels. Andrea is the pro driver in that Pro-Am entry, of course, a man who is synonymous with Ferrari and Maranello, of course, not a squillion miles back up towards Milan in the General Bologna, Imola, Faenza, the breadbasket of Italy, but also a huge motor racing industry, part of this nation as well.
First car to pit exits, baring its teeth. You can see the teeth just at the top of the grille there. That's Fred Vervisch, looking to go out and see what he can do. He, of course, had that incident out at Brands Hatch where he got pitched into a spin and everybody else seemed to sort of go off the track in avoidance. But,
I think he was still yawning quite a lot this weekend, having just come back from Germany for the 24 hours of Nürburgring, which he won.
Quite a few of the drivers here, yes, they had their weekend off where they did a considerable amount of racing, and the Nordschleife, it's never easy, massive challenge, but great to have Fred here this weekend, sharing with Finlay Hutchison. You see the colours of the Hutchison group, very big in telecoms in the Far East, and Finlay does an awful lot of racing. In fact, when he's not racing in this, he'll find other stuff to race as well. Just likes to be busy, likes to be racing. Neil Stephen Art in the mix down there, the sharing of experience at Santalot Racing. Both of the cars showed very, very good form in that session. Fell away very slightly at the end, but when you have a stop-start session like that, you can just be the wrong side of getting your flying lap in place.
So the field waiting at pit lane exit for the track to go green. So red, just reading what other information is coming up on screen. It's all only relevant now
red flag procedure of car number 11, which is the one, is it not, with Fred Vervisch on board, reported to steward. So something during that red flag moment. We had the brief incident where Ricky Collard's time suddenly went from 5th to 1st. That was then taken away because the red flag had been thrown.
I mean, the whole thing with the red flag, but you could be on a part of the racetrack where you may not see the red flag on the track, but you would have certainly indications in the cockpit. So you need to get out of the throttle immediately, if not sooner.
So session underway. The car under investigation is the first out onto the circuit. The all-gold livery of Boussanginian's Am Lamborghini following it out.
So the Audi is going extremely slowly for some unknown reason.
Well, the flag was being waved and it was green, which means go, 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 and now he's going. So I don't know if, you know what, I think he was speaking to the team boss on the radio, because we've just seen that signal about a problem, and then messages come up about a red flag infringement. Fred was probably just saying, what? And having to concentrate on the message. That's supposition. He's out on the track. Only 3 cars out there. The Lamborghini's already given way to the Audi that was tucked in behind it. Again, even as you leave the pits, you're jockeying for track position.
So on a different set of tyres to that your teammate would have established his grid time on. So once again, just feeling the racetrack. It's the first time for all the drivers that have taken over. So they have seen what their teammate has done, but they don't have the physical experience of knowing what the track is giving up. They don't know how difficult, or maybe in some cases less difficult than it would have been, for example, on Friday when they had 2 practice sessions, which didn't count for anything other than just allowing the teams So track temperature 47.2, ambient slightly higher, humidity 33.8, feels a lot higher than that.
It does, but it's actually going down from this morning, and yesterday it seemed a whole lot worse. I must say,
clammy.
hopefully this immensely hot plume, we know it's mainly in France and Spain, can stay on that side, because it's going to be a really, really hot racing environment for all these drivers if it continues to be at this level. So number 17, work on the front of the 62 Aston Martin. That was the one chaired Aerovania. There's Finnish racer and Hugo de Sadelier is waiting for his turn. That's clearly run off the track and loosened the front spoiler by the looks of things.
Yes, everything is the front. When they take the bodywork off, it's almost like a silhouette. The way that these cars have been, the engineering is now so sophisticated. And of course, you've got the twin turbo. Oh, and Ryan Finley Hutchison goes. Got caught out. I mean, that was offline, trying to get past one of the sister Audis, and just the back end of the car got away. Again, down at the far end of the racetrack. So coming into 13, you can see just what's happening with everybody who's online. Watch again and see, you know.
My apologies. I thought he just found himself getting a little close, maybe being confused by the rival. I thought it was Fred Vervish. Fred must have done the first session. So Finley,
yes, Finley Hutchison, yes,
the number 11.
So around she goes.
Treat your tyres and treat them well.
Yeah, but any bit of the racetrack that is offline is a no-go area.
So the young Scot sitting a bit side on across the circuit there. Now let's see. Well, we've got some fast sector times coming in, but it's still green, which is very good news. So people winding up on their first flying lap will not be interrupted.
Here's a driver-car combination. Mirko Bortolotti, 63 Grassa Racing Lamborghini, coming up through turn 15, about to line it up into the final turn to get a run. Maximum traction and the least amount of usage of the exit of the corner, so good exit for Mirko Bortolotti. Now on it hard all the way down this relatively short start finish straight on the brakes into turn 1, run the curb on the inside, stay to the right, then cut back again to get that left-hander. It's then on the going through 3. This is where the blend line is for the pit lane exit, so just always have to be aware. Then hard on the brakes into turn 4, take a load of curb on the inside, then immediately I think it was a double park corner, then back to the right to cut through turn 6, runs very wide in the edge of that. Then the curve, you can barely see it as you make the run down into turn 8, a place where the Brave will try and make a move down the inside, but it's pretty easily covered. Kind of a mix and match as to where you take your line. Some take a wide line, some take the more conventional one we've seen from Mirko Bortolotti. Then back up into turn 9, followed by turn 10. So then you come on to what is the quickest part of this Misano, the Marco Simoncelli Raceway, named after the great Italian motorcyclist. But it's not a dead straight, it's a dogleg straight.
It's a series of dog legs, and it's very good news if you're driving a Lamborghini, because one is at the top of the tables. Marco Mappelli, 1 minute 34.122. Very, very good lap time. What will Mirko achieve on his first flying lap? Yet to put it on the board. He's almost come to the end of that tour. Got through 14 and 13, which is the, well...
Yeah, but he was pretty wide, in fairness, so it is Lamborghini dominating with the 563. Marcello in the 88 Mercedes, provisionally second quickest. So what is Bortolotti going to deliver up for Grassa Racing? Comes up, there's the start finish line, 1:34.270, second quickest.
So the difference between them, 0.148 of a second. That's all being logged by Gottfried Grasser down at Grasser Racing Team. Christian Engelhardt, he's done his job in the first session. Bortolotti doing a slightly better job at the moment.
Jimmy Pla in the Mercedes. Third quickest Pro-Am.
Yeah, and he's top of the man we're looking at now, Raffaele Marcello, always seen as the quickest of the quick guys at ACCA ASP, but Jim Pla, he knows he's in a Pro-Am combination, but he's really, really going for it. So great run from young Jim there, sharing with Mauro Ricci.
Now David Pirelli in the second of the Pro-Am in the Ferrari, he's up to 6th place, so never a good effort indeed from the 333 Rinaldi Racing Team. Fastest middle sector, Raffaele Marcello. Now Raffaello, don't throw it away. Good entry into this double right-hand corner where it is so easy to throw all the work you've done for 3/4 of a lap of the circuit into the bin. Uses the racetrack and not cuts it through the inside. Now, final turn. Can he get the drive off the corner? Can he get his Mercedes, the 88, up onto provisional pole?
So it's 2 Lamborghinis, or it was, because that time, yes, you're quite right, John, to the top, Raffaele Marciello by 0.072 of a second. Has he finished there? Will they get into the 1 minute 33s? Vincent Abril, he'd like that car to start from pole. He knows there's still quite a long time to go, 13 and a bit minutes to be precise. So it's Marciello in his Mercedes from 2 Lamborghinis, Mapelli and Bortolotti. What's the best of the Audis doing? Dries Van Tor, he's not normally only 21st. Tell you what, but he's got that best middle sector time, a very tiny exit to the final corner. Where is that Audi going to end up? We know it's on pole for the first of the races, up to 6th for the second.
Disappointing. That fastest middle sector time would have been an indicator, but clearly the entire lap wasn't quite as strong as we go back to Mervyn Kirchhofer in the 76 Aston Martin. This is the car that Ricky Collard got onto the front row of the grid for race 1 later this evening. So Kirchhofer's got something to do. Dries Van Tor, we mentioned, is 6th quickest. Marpelli in the pits. Bertolotti, I beg your pardon, is currently still continuing lap, but not indicating there's anything there in terms of lap times for Kirchhofer. Aston Martin looks very well planted. Noticed that when Ricky Collard was behind the wheel, sidewise with Kirchhofer, the car appears to be giving up good grip, a lot less slide.
Marvin Kirchhofer, he delivers in the last couple of years, have been really, really strong for Marvin. 8th at the moment, just driving into the pit, so he's still got plenty of time to make a change and go back out. Still 12 minutes on the clock. Here's Jim Pla. Mara Ricci in the pits will be beaming from ear to ear, because that's a really good run from the Pro-Am pace setter.
Yeah, and Fabian Schiller in one of the sister cars, he's actually just gotten ahead of his teammate, although they're in different categories. He's up into 4th place. So again, the Mercedes showing more kind of strength in field. Wow, look at that.
Well, that's Jim Pla. His fastest first sector, he was set to take 0.3 of a second off his lap time, which would actually put him on pole position for that big run off the circuit down at 14, a bit more off at turn 15. He's trying very hard, but clearly that 3rd sector must reduce his chances. Let's have a look.
He's flirting with track limits. He's done it the last 3 corners. So does he make any improvement currently in 6th place?
When he goes backwards, he lost position. Fabian Schiller just moved up, and Marcus Finkelhock up in 3rd place.
Always Marcus Finkelhock you can depend upon in tricky conditions to do an outstanding job. As we look at David Pirelli in the Ferrari, that car was at one point at 6th. It stopped all the way down to 13th. And does it remain there? It appears to, so no improvement for 3 through 3. In fact, it's gone backwards.
So let's take a look. This is Jim Pla. Did he clock on the curb on the inside?
He clipped the curb on the inside, but threw the car to the outside of the corner, so that compromised any of the work he'd done all the way around. As we look at the 62, Hugo de Sedelier.
Well, hasn't set a flying lap yet, but obviously taking his best out of his out lap. But this was a car they were adjusting the front splitter.
It is
in the pits. So late out, but in fact with half the field now in the pits, he's got clear track, which is again quite a luxury at Misano.
The Aston Martin appears, I don't know why, maybe it's just, it looks like it's working very well indeed.
Good only for 21st position at the moment. This is the first flying lap. All the rivals have got at least 2 or 3 flying laps on the board.
Yeah, that was maybe taking the Michael a bit too much, getting that far off the racetrack, but there we are. So that's the 76 car.
Yeah, that's the one that's sitting in 10th place, Marvin Kirchhofer. But a team on the move is Santalot Racing, Marcus Finkelhock. Of course, as we look at him, the driver who's 3rd fastest comes into the pit lane. Almost all the front runners. Here's the car from Get Speed Performance joining the AM class. It's Dennis Reminiako and Adam Osieka, the German racer Osieka, at the wheel at the moment. 2nd slowest, but good to have him on board. 3 seconds down on the ultimate pace. But he keeps improving. He's found another almost a half a second on his best before this in the first of the 3 sectors. So certainly, well, we'll get under 3 seconds away from the pace.
It's all gone quiet. There are only, well, basically 3 cars on the racetrack right now doing laps, and some of those are going out and some of those have been coming in. So virtually the field is sitting in the pit lane with just over 9 minutes of the session remaining. So the last charge will probably come in about another 2 or 3 minutes, by which time the racetrack will be absolutely congested.
Entirely so. So by dint of coming out after everybody else had probably got a flying lap already on the board, Hugo de Sadelier has a track to himself, just comes up to complete his 2nd flying lap. No, in fact, his 1st flying lap, I beg his pardon, up to 21st position. So that's a good start. 1.3 seconds off the ultimate pace. Next target, Oscar Tunjo in the number 10 Audi. But right now, Cars need wheels. The car that's sitting second fastest, Marco Mappelli, took over the car from Andrea Fontana, who did such a good job in the first stint. Second fastest at the moment for Marco Mappelli. We were saying before the session a front row start would really be what they were looking for here at Misano. Both Italian drivers, both wanting to do well on home soil. So tight at the top, 72 thousandths of a second between Raffaele Marciello in the number 88 ACA ASP Mercedes and Marco Mappelli in the FFF Racing Team Lamborghini. When I say that, I mean one of three, the best place of their three cars.
So with the amount of action in the pit lane, fresh rubber going on, pretty much all of the, what I would call the front runners, not everybody is considered a front runner, but we can never predict. So 8 minutes, or 7.5 minutes in effect, to go. Let's hope that we see clean laps. Don't want to have any more stoppages. A red flag where a car gets into a difficult situation, it's got to be pulled out. You can't do anything about that. But it does affect, if you've gone out and you're just about starting your first flying lap, having done the out lap on a brand new set of rubber, and then you have to abandon it, then it's frustrating. It's frustrating for the team particularly.
Yes, with every minute you remain in the pits, the ante is up, the opportunity could be thwarted, is more likely to be thwarted if everybody's waiting. But so we're going to have a flurry. 7 and a bit minutes remaining. The number 4, Black Falcon Mercedes, down in 7th position. You say that
unexpectedly.
You expect it to be at the front pretty much all the time. Such a strong driver pairing. Lucas Stoltz, very seldom look happy, but he always looks quite fast.
Maro Engel and Lucas Stoltz is a very, it's a very understated partnership, but very effective. There is the very car we're talking about, the number 4, Black Falcon Mercedes. Looks magnificent in that particular color, metallic blue. So wait to see Maro Engel. I don't think his current time, is anywhere near representative of what that car down in 7th position, what its potential is.
Well, here it goes. Here comes the scramble, led out by Raffaele Marciello in that red Mercedes, number 88, should be about to leave the pit lane. It's going to be a scramble. People trying to get heat into their tyres and trying to remember exactly how fast they can go into turn 13, because a lot of drivers haven't got it right. They've just not found the grip down there. By the time they get to 14, they're going sideways. John and I have enjoyed it very much, as if it was a drift show. I'm afraid we've yes, one car has had its best lap cancelled. That's car number 62, Hugo de Sadelier. He was the driver out on his own.
Well, I mean, Hugo got so far out. I mean, it was, he almost had to send out a Labrador, not a Labrador, St. Bernard with a cask of brandy around his neck to find how far it had gone.
So now winding it back up, down in 10th place at the moment, Marvin Kirchhoff. His teammate Ricky Collard did better than that, was 5th fastest. So as far as I recall in that first session, but the 76 Aston Martin is the star car, so it seems, and again another driver just way out wide, because the slower car had come out of the pits ahead of him, and it's about making your own space out on the circuit. Okay, let's just mention the fastest time so far, 1 minute 34.05 seconds. That's Raffaele Marciello. Is that going to be beaten? Are we going to get a time into the 1 minute 33s? Let us see. The clock is counting down, just over 5 minutes remaining.
1 minute 34.020 was the fastest time, set around about 5 o'clock, 5:15 Friday evening. And we are now, what 30 hundredths of a second away from that, with the time from Raffaele Marciello and the 88 Mercedes, as we watch Marvin Kirchhoff make his way down our dog leg rear straight. And of course, Misano is not just a car race circuit, it's also a motorcycle race circuit. It used to run in the other direction, and I think the concerns were more for motorcyclists than they were for cars. So the circuit now has reverted to this direction and configuration.
One of the very, very few circuits in the world that has decided to reverse its passage. Well, in fact, the first round was at another, because Brands Hatch in the very early days used to run counterclockwise.
Some people still think it does.
Well, indeed they do. So, right, now, we've had the warm-up lap, that's the out lap. Now we're starting to wind it up for the final flying laps. Raffaele Marciello leads the way. The 76 car, Marvin Kirchhoff, could be in within a shout.
Interesting again, as cars coming down pit straight, going to turn 1, they're using a lot more of what you would call the alternative racetrack. They're almost getting 4 wheels off this, what I call demarcation line on the left-hand side coming into turn 1. just scratching for every little bit of potential grip.
Christopher Haas, we saw him talking in the pits before. He's down in 12th place, but with the improvements he's found in his first 2 sector times, if he combines those and has a good final sector, he could go to the very, very top of the field. 1 minute 34.05 seconds is the time to beat through turn 16. He goes, avoids the rumble strip, looking very good indeed. Certainly he'll go into the top 10. Can he go to the very top of the pile? And if he does, will he stay there for very long? Well, he only moves up to 9th. He's under half a second away from the pace. Again, the very end of the lap is what let him down.
Yeah, but the car looked good for that final turn. Now, Dries van Voor, personal best sector 1, fastest overall sector 2. Currently, this car is in 8th position. Could it be about to join the top of the tree? Marcello Bertolotti. So Bertolotti's back on second. Oh dear, traffic, and that's really, really made a man and Dries van Voor completely off the racetrack. Not only has he lost this lap, he's now lost the potential to go on and do another lap. He will be very, very angry indeed. And you could see the body language from Dries van Voor. So who was behind the wheel of this at 87?
That's Jim Pla. But Jim's, 7th quickest at the moment, but so much more speed through turn 15.
Here we go, here we go.
And then just in too tight into turn 16, and certainly not tight on the exit. He's way beyond the exit, over the sausage rumble strip on the outside. Good for 4th. Don't forget, this is the car that's taking on pole position for the first race, for this evening's race. This car, Fabian Schiller, Timo Boguslawski did a good job in Q1, Q2, up at the sharp end of the field, but how good a lap. His middle sector, no improvement. He's lost time in his middle sector, so it's not going to be now, but there's not much more time to go
it's just that kind of whole station situation, very wide again on the exit of turn 16.
Raffaele Marciello into the 1 minute 33. It's 1 minute 33.779. He's 0.3 of a second clear, John.
First car to break the 1 minute 34 second barrier all weekend.
Didn't break it, smashed it, John, obliterated it. Amazing first.
Christopher Haas has got second quickest by just 0.159 of a second. Didn't see it. Christopher Haas, we thought he was going to do a good lap the previous one, but he has confirmed that now, second quickest.
Yeah, he nailed that final sector of the lap. Fabian Schiller, we were looking at him a moment ago. He's gone 3rd fastest in the 90 ACA ASP car. And on this lap, yet another improvement. Faster again through the first part of the lap for Raffaele Marciello. 1 minute 33.595. He's found another 0.2 of a second. Give that driver a biscuit, I
That
think.
is a great run of laps, 2 laps from Raffaele Marciello. If we go back to Fabian Schiller, currently Fabian Schiller 3rd overall. I mean, that is a great effort from a silver ranked car. Fabian Schiller, Timo Boguslawski. So they're going to put themselves right at the sharp end of the grid for race 2 on Sunday afternoon.
I'm looking for other changes between the sessions. We said the Black Falcon Mercedes is always on it, but it's down in 11th place, the championship leading car in the hands of Mauro Engel.
And just for those Aston Martin fans, Hugo de Sandelier, he has got himself into the top 10 in 9th position in the 62 Aston Martin.
Yeah, all eyes in those pits were on Marvin Kirchhofer, especially when de Sandelier was late out. But look at this lap from Fabian Schiller. So de Sandelier winning that battle. He's 9th to Marvin Kirchhofer's 12th, but Fabian Schiller, he's 3rd. Will he go up into 2nd? He surely won't be going to the very top of the charts. Let's see, he goes into 2nd ahead of Christopher Haas. His time, 1 minute 33.751. He's down by 0.156 of a second. It's tight. Marciello, is he responding? Not at the moment, but the clock is ticking down.
What everybody had hoped wouldn't happen is there a provisional Mercedes lockout, because that means that they've got the position to control, and control will be how these 2 races will play out.
Yeah, there'll be that desperate dash to the first turn. Here's the checkered flag. Here's Dries van Voor going for it. He's pushing. He's down in 6th place. This is the car that's on pole for race 1. He's got a Mercedes in the way. Again, it's the same Mercedes as last time. The checkered flag is flying. How has Dries done? He improved in his first sector, not in his second sector. Can he find enough to move up at least a row or so? Will he get up to about 4th place on the grid? Let us see. There goes the flying Belgian. He's still listed 6th on the time screen. And he goes, wait for it. Does he go to 2nd place?
Second place, good effort indeed. Having to control emotions. He lost a lap 1 or 2 laps ago, got it back, done a good job, up to 2nd place, 0.145 of a second behind Raffaele Marciello's what we thought at the time was a stellar lap time.
So many emotions. Those that were rising to top had to be bottled. That was put back in the bottle because things kept on changing. But what didn't change? Not 1 but 2 amazing flying laps from Raffaele Marciello. Can anyone topple that? Just seeing the last few cars home. It's Christopher Haas in 3rd place, but no, it's not going to happen for him. You can see his times. Maybe Fabian Schiller. He's just crossing the start-finish line. He's 4th. Will he go into 3rd? Christopher Haas still holding 3rd, waiting for that time from Fabian Schiller.
No, it stays.
There's no improvement, it
No
stays.
improvement.
So, what a scramble. Dries Van Toor's got stories to tell. He'll have nightmares about finding the rear end of that 87 ACA ASP Mercedes, but Jim Pla was doing a very good job in that, and he tops the Pro-Am.
Big surprise, Bruce, is that the number 4 Black Vulcan Maro Engel is only on the 6th row of the grid in 11th position. Explain that one.
Yeah, and
Look, again, this is what Dries Van Toor expected to be given ground, but the number 4 Mercedes decided, the 87 Mercedes decided clearly, no, I'm going to hold my line. And he was coming into this is at the end of the lap, I beg your pardon, coming into the end of the lap, almost a mirror of what we had seen a few laps ago. So both drivers will undoubtedly have varying views of what occurred. There is a kind of etiquette. If a quicker car is closing on you quickly and you're not on a flying lap, you might want to give way where it was possible.
Well, look how tight it was at the end, 0.145 of a second, so it would have been a question of if for Dries Van Toor. Could it have been 2 poles, but to Raffaele Marcello, not 1, but 2 amazing laps put the 88 ACA ASP Mercedes to the top of the charts. Santalot Racing really flying this weekend. Christopher Haase doing a great job after Simon Gasche, his teammate, had a florid moment in the first qualifying session. Fabian Schiller and Timo Boguslawski are looking very, very strong. Indeed, it must be said. They're leading the way in the Silver Cup class. Jim Pla, we saw him at the end, 10th fastest, good for the Pro-Am honours, the Pro-Am pole, if you will, down in 10th for ACA ASP. And then we look to see who was top in the AM class, and you go somewhat down the order. But some great pairings, not even in the top 15. It just shows how tight it is here, particularly at Misano. It's tight, it's twisty. One little slip up or one failure to get grip, and you're nowhere.
Well, we've seen a lot of those slip ups because people were getting caught out in one sector, the third sector of the racetrack, coming to the conclusion of that main straight.
Well, I tell you what, they'll be very, very happy down at ACA ASP. Let's go join Dakota with Raffaele Marcello.
Guys, a massive congratulations, Rafi. What a lap that was. Your luck seems to have changed this time. Is that the color of the car? I know Chinese red is a lucky color. Maybe it's lucky for you.
I'm not Chinese, so I don't know what is for them. I mean, it was just a normal qualifying finale without red flag or strange problems. We did our job. I think the car is always been quick, so we just need to focus on ourselves. It can happen some bad luck, let's say, but at the end, if you put all together, for sure we can do the job. And I mean, it's, I think, really good starting position, P5 this afternoon and in P1 tomorrow. So I mean, it's still a long weekend, but for sure it's quite pleasant, yeah.
Well done. Vince, you must be happy with your teammate. Maybe not happy with your own performance, but your teammate definitely shone.
Yeah, we had it. I think on our quali, I did a small mistake, but the car was fantastic. So a big thank you to the team for, like Lelo said, we had a tough season start, but they kept faith in us, and now it's our time to pay them back. So yeah, we have a strong car. P5 and P1 is a good start. So let's see how we go.
We'll see you in P5 later today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dakota. What I love, Raffaele is a very funny guy, but he delivers his lines with a poker face. I am not Chinese.
I mean, he's as dry as sand, But it was instant. Came back. I mean, and I understand the theme that Dakota Jane was going down, the color, whatever. Maybe it was a bit too subtle because of the differences in language. No, I'm not Chinese.
Well, let's take a look at
That's a classic. That'll live forever.
It certainly will. Very busy out on track as we take a look at the highlights, and a lot of people struggling to find grip. That was Vincent April, a moment that he will actually have quite enjoyed when he looks at it back. But really, really very difficult conditions there. Santalot Racing had both their cars going around. That's Simon Gasche in number 25. He buried it deep in the gravel and unfortunately brought it back on the circuit. Pole for the first race. Charles Weerts celebrating with his father, Yves, of Team WRT. So an 18-year-old making a massive splash. And then we had the number 11 Audi going for a spin for Phoenix Racing there. It was difficult to find the grip. It was difficult to find the space on the track to put down the times. The 76 Aston Martin looked very, very good today in the hands both of Ricky Collard and Marvin Kirchhofer. But it was the red. It's changed from blue to red, but the red Mercedes, Raffaele Marcello, took pole and they did it all over again. But it's only by small fractions, 0.145 of a second. Dries Van Toor going over the curbs there, really pushed, but couldn't quite topple. But the number 2 Audi has a first and a second, an astonishing run in 2 qualifying sessions.